Good afternoon and welcome to episode 7 of What Do I Know? In this episode I'm going to be dealing with September 2020, October 2020 and the first half of November 2020. I'm splitting November in half because the second half of November takes us into a period of time involving a certain meeting that we're all familiar with, that we all know about. And there was a lot that was going on, and if I cram it all in, people are going to get confused. Because at this time, it really was kicking off. And it was a situation where it was 3 of them and 3 of us, and all relationships had broken down. And this was all because of the illegal actions of the Clerk back in June to disqualify Councillor Jean Thompson when she had not in fact disqualified. Coming into September, as we know, and as I have said, Brian had received a formal complaint, but it was mysterious because there was 2 names blacked out on the formal complaint document. Barry and I rightfully expected to receive that. Neither of us ever did. So we looked at it and said, it's been dispensed of as far as we're concerned. So how did September start? September started as much as the way August ended. You probably will have recalled, or can recall, that the Clerk actually had signed himself off sick. We'd not had any sick note. We'd had nothing at all. So we did not know the length of time he was going to be off sick. We didn't know what his illness was. All we knew was he said, I've been signed off sick. We had nothing. Which makes that a very difficult situation employment-wise. The beginning of September, lo and behold, suddenly, after 5 days off being sick, he returns to work. Yeah, you heard it. 5 days. And here's another shock horror for you. He finally, after 4 months, probably 4.5 months of asking, he sets up a Zoom meeting platform for Handforth Parish Council. He also follows council instruction, and between the 1st and 3rd of September 2020, he does write to CEC declaring that there is no vacancy in HBC and that he has made a dreadful miscalculated mistake. We are absolutely thrilled he's done that. Brian, myself and Barry thinking, right, we might finally be turning a corner. Wrong. We're not. His behaviour gets much worse. One of the rules we have on Handforth Parish Council is that when a meeting's going to get called, what the clerk must do when he, or if it's a she, has got the agenda ready and finalised, he has to consult with the chair. So the chair has to see that. What Ashley did was to finalise the agenda and go and call meetings of his own free will. Can't do that. He's overstepped the mark again. To make matters worse, he also fails to follow 2 resolutions. Firstly, he had still not written to Jean and apologised profusely for what he had done. He had failed to apologise for the fact that he had wrongfully and unlawfully disqualified her and taken away from her what she had earned through the ballot box and earned by democratic right. He was also still denying the West Ward electorate one of their democratically elected councillors. He had no right to do that. So still he was acting illegally. On top of that, as you might remember, in the last episode I pointed out that the minutes of the Part B side of the August 27th, 2020 meeting had been altered. One of those requisitions that was taken out was that he had to invite Jean Thompson to every council meeting. First chance here, first bite of the cherry, complete failure. And it was deliberate. We really believed it was deliberate. Our solicitor believed it was deliberate. 2 barristers believed it was deliberate. When when he failed to invite Jean, we immediately took legal advice on this because we immediately again suspected that there was something underhand going on. Our legal team wasted no time in pointing out to Brian, myself and to Barry that this was an illegal act by the clerk, and that we were told because of this unlawfulness we were not to attend any of these arranged meetings. So those meetings that he'd arranged, and I think it was for the 22nd of September, it was down that area at that time, we were told no, don't attend them. Brian puts together an email that he copied myself and Barry into. He and Barry actually worked on it, in which it was pointed out to Ashley that he's making another error. He is not just reminded of the requisitions, he's given them again, those requisitions from that Part B, the 27th of August 2020 meeting. He's told to rectify this mistake and rectify it immediately. We tell him and we show him, make it clear, that our legal team has deemed that he has acted unlawfully yet again. And he's going to correct it. Right? So he's up against it. You would have thought, as any right-minded, fair-headed, fair-minded, reasonable person would have thought, yeah, I better get that done. Sorry, I made a mistake. Really sorry. Apologise, profusely, correct it. Make sure that Jean has got everything and that she can attend. This guy refuses to comply. Bluntly refuses. So myself, Brian and Barry, we then decide we're going to act on the legal advice. We're doing a stay away. Because our concern was paramount, that if this was unlawful, we did not want to be associated with it. Now, what Brian had done, ready for that meeting, is he had asked for the following statement to be read out at that meeting, and he'd given it to Ashley. First part of the email is confidential, so I can't give it to you, but I can give you the statement that Brian, myself, and Barry had prepared. And the statement read thus: a number of councillors, including the chairman, believe this meeting has been called in such a way as to make it unlawful. They have taken this view on receiving advice in the last few days from a barrister. The view is that, since the meeting is unlawful, any decisions it may make will also be unlawful, even if the number of councillors present makes it quorate. We all hope this situation can be resolved as quickly as possible, but it may be that the legal process is necessary. There you go. That's the statement. We give that to Ashley, and Ashley says, yeah, it'll be read out at the beginning of the meeting. So the meeting comes. We're not there. We've got the three babies, as I've called them, because it was like, seriously, a meeting with them was like meeting with babies. And it was. Seriously. I'll probably get more sense out of babies in a creche than I ever got out of them. I mean it. There's probably more brains and common sense in amongst the babies in the creche. Chair refuses to read it out. They nominate a chair, they refuse to read it out. Can't do that. That's unlawful. Yeah. To make matters even much worse, in the public forum, John Smith, as a councillor, reads in public an email from Cheshire East Democratic Services. I'd read this one out, but I can't because it's still subject to Part B confidentiality. But what I can say is give you the gist. And that it was Cheshire East believing that they were right, that the disqualification was proper. They were completely wrong. Hopelessly wrong. And failed to act on it. Absolutely brilliant from Cheshire East. Incompetence as normal. No difference there. The clerk, now this is how stupid we're going to be now. They are. The clerk agrees to minute that email. That's a double breach of confidentiality. That is serious. I can't put into words how serious that is. That actually is occasioning illegality. That actually, because of the recklessness of the behaviour, equated to misconduct in public office. Simple as that. Because I had a bit of luck on that front at that time. I got a good mate of mine, works for CPS. Yeah, he's a solicitor. I asked him, can you help? I just need some guidance on this. But look, I studied crime at uni, but I haven't practiced stuff like that. So I needed some help. And he went through that test with me, and he just said, mate, this is an absolute cast iron misconduct in public office. So we're looking at a very serious criminal offence. He went, He said, I think they're all going to need to be reminded where they're heading. On top of this, John Smith comes out with the most idiotic, ludicrous, boneheaded statement I've ever heard. Bearing in mind they've all had the law, particularly Reneeson's application showing how time periods regards disqualifications are worked out. And he says, the fact that Jean didn't attend the last 2 to 2.5 months is irrelevant. No, it isn't, Johnny. No, it isn't. It's highly relevant because that actually applied to us all. If we were all going to have that kind of silly 6 months rule, which shouldn't have been even applied in terms of lockdown and COVID, because we've got no meetings there, the law is as it is. It's infinite. It's absolutely open. You can't go against it. You have to accept it. No meetings in that 2 to 2.5 months don't count. So you've got 4 months. And only 4 months. So that statement was completely stupid. I put it down to the fact that there was a lot of pressure building here. And they were clutching at straws. The mob were clutching at straws, trying to justify the pathetic position that they were in. They must have known they were in the deep end and they were going to need a miracle to get out of it. And somehow they got that miracle. You know? Totally given to them completely and utterly illegally, but they got it. Matters in relation to the documentation that John Smith read out in that meeting got even worse. A member of the public asked what was going on and if there was any information she could have. Obviously, she respected it, and I respect her today. Still do. Family, everybody, great family. She's a great person. But what Ashley did was unforgivable. He forwarded to her, lock, stock and barrel, all the Part B confidential information regards that. He's forwarded it to a member of the public. He's just done it. He's just blatantly and incompetently gone and done it. So now we have a situation where there's a great tranche of documentation out in the public that's confidential to the council, and a member of the public has seen it. Couldn't believe this. The first I knew of this was when I received an email and then a telephone call from this member of the public. I'd seen the email, and as I was reading the email, I got the call, and I could tell from the email, the language used in the email, this poor woman was in terrible distress, discomfort, knowing what she had in her hands. As Vice Chair, I told Brian, and I told Barry, and I said, this is now serious. We have got a clerk now who is just doing what he wants when he wants, and he doesn't care about the law, he doesn't care about the rules, he doesn't care about the standing orders, he just doesn't care. I said, to me, we're going to need legal advice on the employment front. I am not the one. I've never read employment law. I don't know where to start. I said, I took that on. I also took the call from, as I say, from this particular lady, and I said to her, right, you keep those emails safely, and this is what I want you to do. I want you to download them. We'll put them in a PDF file along with the email he sent you. You forward that to me with an explanatory note so I can then put it on file. So I will record it as evidence of serious misconduct, in fact, gross misconduct. I said I would have to share this with the chair and with Councillor Berthold, he's the chair of the employment committee. I also need to alert Councillor Thompson, because she's still a councillor, as to what the clerk has done. She was brilliant. After that, I said to her, once you've done that, you destroy that email. You tell me you've destroyed it. I want time, date, and your method of destruction. You show it to no one. You speak to no one. Other than, obviously, your family, but they sworn to silence. I spoke to many members of her family, and I just want to doff my cap to them. They were absolutely, utterly brilliant. When I realised what Ashley, the clerk, had gone and done, I said, we've got a problem now. He clearly, he's incompetent. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I said to Barry and Brian, and also to Jean, we had obviously virtual meetings, we couldn't meet at the time. I said, we could be hurtling into a situation where either we suspend him or we take the plunge and we sack him. And I was totally saying, suspend him, get an investigation going, let's find out what's going on, because there's sure as hell something going on here that ain't right. To make matters, I wouldn't say worse, but more fascinating, I received two reports. The first report that came in was the finance investigation. And the 3 forensic accountants, chartered accountants I may add, had done a great job. I saw them straight, money-wise, never claimed a penny back, and I still haven't, and I wouldn't. But they came back and they confirmed to me that what I had found in the accounts, and what I'm going to say is, I'll do a special programme on this, because I can't do it in, it'd be What Do I Know special. Remember that one. But they confirmed to me that the suspected financial irregularities that I'd found between the period of May 2015 to May 2019 were indeed matters of, quote, severe illegality, and which must be reported to the chair, and which must also be taken up with the police. This is severe. They also recommended again that I went back to the internal and external auditors and showed them exactly what had been stated. I did that. External auditors were, right, okay, the second you report it to the police, you tell us. Done deal. I reported it to the police, did it. I went to the internal auditor, and for want of a better word, I started getting very worried about what I was finding out. I correctly ascertained, he said, yeah, there was a portal there. And he said, I request, your council to place things on the portal. My first question was, has this portal been put there because we are in COVID and because nobody can come out and visit? Is it just there for COVID? The response I got shook the you-know-what out of me, shook the brown stuff out of me, well and truly. Because he said, oh no, it's always been there. I said, pre-COVID? He said, yes. I said, okay. I said, well, in which case, can I give you a few examples of what we're talking about here? I gave him 4 examples, and to every one of those examples, and I know that he was truthful, open, transparent and honest, and I thank him greatly for this. He said, I've never seen any of those, and neither of my colleagues. What? So I said, you're telling me that what you were given didn't highlight that? I said, certainly for several of these periods or areas within this time period, they had to be there. There was no way they could not be there. And that's when he used the word unless, and I said, unless somebody changed them. So I went back to the forensic accountants for that, and I said, is it possible that this could have been changed, these account statements could have been changed and put on the portal? And they went, oh yeah, absolutely. And I said, well, from my professional background and my specialist professional knowledge, there's one word that describes that, and it falls right under that heading. And they just said, couldn't be fraud by any chance, could it? And I went, yep. Now in that special, you've got to find out just what the depth of that was, and what happened, what was going on. And I will do a special on that. and I will reveal all on that. The second report I got was from my famous five, who we had a virtual meeting, and they wanted to report back to me on their findings regards John Smith. And I said, right, because I'd had concerns about the fact he'd invented crimes against me, done it against my dad. We knew he'd done it against Brian. I said, I'm also concerned that I've got cases where quite clearly he's turned up with documents in council that have been altered. And at this time, I'd had 3 cases of that, and I said, I'll prepare him for that to happen again. I said, it's already happened once with this situation, and that was with the supposed legal advice they got from 11 KVW Chambers, which was nothing but an opinion, a general opinion article published by this particular barrister as a QC, which he'd altered. I now confess that I actually reported that lock, stock and barrel. And the alterations to that only became apparent when I get to the next phase. In terms of the famous five, they came back to me and said there's a possibility, a strong possibility from what we're looking at. Now I'm going to tell you about these famous five, that 3 of them, doctors of psychology. I've got doctorates in psychology, and all of them did practice one way or another in that vein. One of them did a couple of jobs, did another job as well. Another one wasn't a doctor of psychology, but that person had used their psychology amongst other qualifications in another role in which they were revered and very successful. First question I was asked was if I'd noticed he was losing his rag a lot and easily. I said, yeah, I noticed that. And he was trying to make petty, very immature points. And I said I was concerned. I said I was also concerned that he was coming up with things that simply hadn't happened. That just events that just hadn't happened. Certainly not in real life. So I said, right, let's cut to the chase. I said, what are we talking about? And 3 of them said one word: psychosis. Now, if you don't know what psychosis is it is an illness where that sufferer tends to find things or see things or invent things or occurrences that simply haven't happened. And what made me laugh is he accused me of having it. I actually underwent a test to see if I had psychosis, and you know what? I came back no, totally clear. That should say something. So that idea he had goes out the window, down a gurgler, wherever you want to put it. You know, as one of my best mates would say, do nothing. Yeah, it's gone. It's chucked out. But for him, no. And I actually asked, I said, is it just a touch? Or is he, you know, what are you talking about? They said there's a scale of 1 to 5. And I said 1 being the lowest, 5 being the worst. So I went, right, okay. They went, yeah. Now these 5, I said, right, I want you to rank him then. Where would you put him? 1, put him at 1. 1, put him at 1.5. 2, put him at 2. 1 left over, and I said, right, it's either 1.5 or 2. And that person sat back and evaluated it and said, 2. So I thought, right, I've got to be cautious with this guy. I'm going to watch what I say, what I do, what I write, everything, because it's going to get twisted. A crime's going to get invented. I made sure all those findings went around my compadres. What did I find? Next event, the end of September, formal complaint number 2 is received, and this time we'll receive it. And it comes from the 3 Wallies. Yeah. Smith, Sampson and Moore. I spotted something immediately. I noted that there was evidence that they were using in it that was one set was forged and another was manipulated. I also noticed that the complaint was collusive. Again, our solicitors were brought in and the barrister was brought in. We looked at the formal complaint rules the procedure as put forward and as agreed by Cheshire East at forward. They'd agreed to full council. Come back early that year, 2020, and they go, yeah, it's fine. One of the rules is you can't put in completely identical formal complaints. In other words, you cannot put anything in which is collusive. This was totally identical, so it was collusive. So therefore, it should have been instantly disqualified under the CEC Code of Conduct complaints process. You would have thought Cheshire East would have been honest. The Monitoring Officers Department would have been honest, would have been correct. Oh no, not this one. Oh no, that's too much. It's too much. Far too much. Come on. You're having a laugh if you think they do that. Oh no, they let it go through and they issued it against us. I just simply said, look, I'll respond to it, but I'm going to say this is disqualified. And I tell you what I did in with that complaint as well. I slammed in the full report on John Smith that came back from My Famous Five. I deliberately put the cat, and I didn't put the cat amongst the pigeons. I put the fox in the hen house. Well and truly. And I did it deliberately. And you know what? I even got My Famous Five to evaluate the other two. And I got some great reports back on that as well. So each one of those three Wallies got a report against him. I even got people from the village who'd also suffered at their hands to give me statements backing me. Just he's got them, and they looked at me, oh, I don't know what to do here. Oh, I don't know. What you should have done is kick them out. Now, because they had tabled a formal complaint against us, we did it against them. And ours was fierce. I will say this, again, because Cheshire East is so hopeless. When it came to making formal complaints against them, nothing stuck. Great lady in the village, she said, they're just like Teflon then. And I said, how do you mean? She said, well, nothing sticks to Teflon, does it? It's what non-stick pans are made out of. Oh, yeah. Good point, that one, love. Yeah, good point, I like that one. And she was right. They were like Teflon. I've never been like Teflon. Until now. This ain't going away. So that's the end of September. That's all kicking on. October the 1st arrives. Brian gets a letter saying that he is under investigation in relation to the first formal complaint. The one put in by the clerk using the email that Brian mistakenly sent that the clerk couldn't rely on because he had used it illegally. He'd used evidence illegally, but oh yeah, Cheshire East, it's all right, yeah, you can use it. No, that's a breach of the rules of evidence. You have an investigation, you can't use that. It means you've got to tell the clerk you're going to find some more evidence. Okay? What I spotted in this particular letter is that only the first complaint number is included in this letter. Neither myself nor Barry received such a notification. There was something else as well that stood out about this letter which made me suspicious as to its origin. I knew it had come from Cheshire East, but it didn't bear the signature of the man who was the stand-in monitoring officer and who I knew and who I respected. And I will say this about this guy. He accepted the legal advice and said, my predecessor before she went to St Helens has got this wrong. Ms Batewell's got this wrong. He said, we're going to have to look at this. And he was preparing to get that done. We received some bad news at the end of September. And it was that this particular man was leaving. But however, in November, and this will come in the next episode, towards the end of November, there's a significant development in terms of Cheshire East and the Monitoring Officers Department. And I think it will shock you when I tell you what it is. We're continuing in October. At this time, I was preparing for the year-end reports. And I was working, again, I reported the irregularities to the internal auditors again and the external auditors. I'd had confirmation, I reported it to the police, I got confirmation from the police to say, yeah, right, we're going to look into this. And it had gone all the way up the food chain, it was with the DIs. It wasn't with the uniform, it was with the DIs. Oh, good. The police asked me, did either the internal auditors or external auditors have any knowledge of these irregularities? And I said no. And they were terrific, gave me statements to say, look, if we'd have seen these, there's no way in the world we would have signed the accounts off for these periods. We would have called it up, flagged it, and it would have been a white hot flagging. Absolutely. One of the things I went back to the internal auditor and asked for, as the police had asked if I had done this, and I've not had an answer to this, and I was chasing it, is if the internal auditor did take samples or view them even before COVID, and again he confirmed to me, no, we've only had the portal, that's it, we don't go out. Right, okay. So what it all meant is that the samples that had been provided to him had been provided by the clerk, him and him alone. Yeah. And the internal auditors even confirmed to me that he could provide anything. And now we knew there was no way in the world we could ascertain whether or not these were accurate or correct, or even honest. So all that now, the internal auditors, all that now has gone to the police. Yeah. Again, this month, the clerk calls meetings without consulting the chair again. Sets the agenda, just calls them. Again. The clerk also again fails to follow the resolutions of council back from that 27th of August meeting, that part B one. He still has failed to apologise to Jean Thompson. And then again he fails to invite to say he's done it a second time. A second time after he's been told and asked not to. What? This time, again, we had a quick meeting with our legal team and they told us, don't go. It's the same as September. Don't go. For the same reasons, don't go. This is unlawful. This has now been done deliberately. This has been done deliberately. And I will say this for our solicitor. He said that he firmly believed now, from all the evidence to hand and everything that was there, that it was absolutely clear that the other councillors, in other words, Smith, Sampson and Moore, were involved directly with this. And he was going, the clerk, was going along with them. No doubt in his mind. And I've got to say, we three, Ryan, myself and Barry, we were the same as well. We had the same inclinations and the same feelings. So, we didn't attend these meetings. Again, we asked Ashley, in the position as clerk, to rectify this error. And he's reminded again of those resolutions. Again, he refuses to comply. Well, another main event that goes on here in October. I end up being concerned about what's going on because of financial resolutions. And I end up having to send an email to Ashley. And I'm going to read you that email. I was originally done for bullying for sending this email, but thankfully, because of the judicial assessment of the High Court, I've been cleared. I'm not guilty of bullying. Because this was an assertive email, and there's a big difference between assertion and bullying. And I'm the chair of finance at this time. One of my most important roles, and I was given a description by the clerk himself, I've got to protect that public purse. I can't allow that public purse to be abused. They're having illegal meetings and they're going off spending money. Yeah? They're going off spending money. I've got to do something. Otherwise my head, my neck is on the line. My arse is on the line. I'm in trouble. I could be held out of being, through doing nothing, saying, well, it's misconduct in public office. You did nothing. You were reckless as to the consequences of your actions. Doing nothing was illegal. You had to stand there and do something. I thought, hang on. I've got a career to protect. My livelihood. My reputation. Can't do this. So I wrote to him. And this is what I said. This was the first email I sent to him. Okay? It was the first email because there was two that went. Okay? First one went at 18:57, and these were the two emails. Right? I said, and this is to Ashley, copying in Brian and Barry, I write regarding the planned meetings and to advise that I have taken further legal advice from counsel at more unnecessary personal expense. These meetings, if they go ahead, will be unlawful as you fail to invite all councillors. Furthermore, he has advised me that to go ahead and convene the meeting will be misconduct in public office by the person who convenes, as well as those who knowingly attend it. At this juncture, I must say that I am sorry, but if the meetings proceed, I will have no choice but to report the issue formally to the police. New paragraph. I also think you should know that I have reported Chalk to the SRA for giving legal advice when not authorised to do so. The SRA will be investigating my report, so it would be very remiss of HBC to join Chalk in light of this knowledge. I finished off by saying this email must not be disclosed to anyone else under any circumstances. Kind regards, Allard. It was marked strictly confidential, not to be disclosed. So why did it appear in an investigation report? That's breached GDPR. It shouldn't have done. Simple as that. That's a good, strong, formal email. And this one, the next one, again, marked strictly confidential, not to be disclosed, and in the light of the events currently taking place, and the clear will to carry out financial transactions at the unlawful planned meetings. I further asked counsel for advice, and he guided me to make contact with the banks. This I have now done, and the banks are now fully aware of what is transpiring, and there is an alert on the accounts. Therefore, if any financial business is transacted and any money spent, then this will and does satisfy the legal definition of fraud. And it would. Any contracts entered into will be illegal contracts, and HBC can be sued upon them. Should this be the situation, I will deflect any proceedings served on HBC to those directly responsible. I am sorry, but I will have no choice but to report this to the appropriate authorities should these meetings proceed. Therefore, as Chairman of the Finance Committee, I request that you send me the account numbers and sort codes of all accounts related to HBC. This email and its contents are confidential and should not be disclosed to anyone under any circumstances. Kind regards, Allard. It's been made very clear, and I will go into the judicial assessment, that that's not bullying. That is somebody standing up. That's the Vice Chair, the Chair of Finance, standing up for the parish, standing up for the ratepayers, making sure that the ratepayers' monies are not misused or abused in any way. Do you think I got a reply to those emails? Do you think I got any cooperation? Did I? I got nothing. And they went and proceeded with these meetings. A little later that month, in October, we received formal complaint number 4 from Councillor John Smith, in which he dreamed up that myself and Brian had doctored the minutes of the 25th of meetings of the 25th of August and 27th of August 2020. I told you invent stuff, and he had here. Now, I think it was Standing Order 9 that I think he'd forgotten about, that says personal opinion don't go in the minutes. That's what he was moaning about, that his personal opinion, and that as Councillors Moore and Sampson wasn't in the minutes. He'd forgotten about standing orders, hadn't he? What a blockhead. So, I'm going to give you a laugh on that one. Brian was cleared. I didn't do anything apart from forward these minutes to Ashley because Ashley wanted them. I did it out of goodwill. And Brian said, yeah, they're accurate, go for it. We'd ratified them. Yeah. I hadn't anything to do with the writing. I'd been to no meetings about nothing. So why am I being pinged? Just for emailing them to Ashley? Told you, he invents stuff. He invents stuff. Psychosis proved. I don't need to say any more on that one. Needless to say, Chester East were going to try and uphold that against me, and my sister walked in and said, you do it, you're going to get your ass sued. Trust me. Oh, we better drop it. We better drop it. Yeah, you better drop it. It's a good idea. Smart idea, smart thinking. Way to go. Yeah. We also approached Cheshire East for help to resolve these issues, but we got ignored. They knew what was going on. There was all hellfire and brimstone kicking off. It was just going, it was bonkers. But they did nothing. They did precisely nothing and left it. They were recklessly negligent. They did nothing. Again, at the end of this month, what happened here, it actually makes me laugh. In this October meeting, John Smith and Sue Moore attempted to vote themselves onto the Employment Committee. Needless to say, Brian, Barry, myself, we avoided that, and we told them we didn't even need a meeting. We told them you'd seriously broken the law. And this time we had enough, and this time we decided something had to be done. What happened here is Cynthia Sampson was chairing the legal October meeting. All right, it's the illegal, unlawful October meeting. And there was an item on the agenda that John Smith and Sue Moore wanted to become members of the Employment Committee. First problem, you've got an interest. Do these two declare an interest? No. Cynthia Sampson's got a vested interest because those are her two allies. Does she declare an interest? Now, have a look at that way you declare an interest. It's also the same time you ask for a disposition. In other words, a disposition to vote. Big problem. If a disposition to vote comes up, and say, for example, you've got 7 councillors and the disposition to vote is for me, I've got to leave that room, I can't take part in the debate, and I can't take part in the vote. Right? We're all right, we've got 6 councillors. But what if you've got 3? You may be correct to read that out. You know, you may be said they want a disposition, but you're not correct to vote on it because John Smith and Sue Moore got to leave that room. They're gone. They're out. That leaves dear little Sin on her own. So, you're uncorrect. You can't do it. These 3 Wallies think they can do it. And then they got the bubble burst. It's a case you couldn't script it. I don't think this could be scripted either for a Hollywood comedy or a Hollywood horror movie. I'd like to see a director try it. He or she's going to have headaches. And whether the movie ever gets shot or done as it's supposed to be, I don't know. You might have a horror movie that turns into a comedy or a comedy that turns into a horror movie. Or you might have the situation when they bang together and they become not a comedy or a horror movie, a docudrama. Who knows? You can debate that one amongst yourselves, but I can't see how that one's going to go. So, with all this kicking off in October, we trickle into November and we're in a mess. We've got, at this time now, an appointment with a leading employment lawyer. I will admit, yeah, he was a past colleague of mine, a very good friend of mine. But that's what friends are for. And we gave him all the evidence and he said, you've got 18 grounds of gross misconduct against the clerk. Barry didn't need telling. Immediately, an employment committee meeting was called for Wednesday, the 4th of November 2020. Now, prior to this, Barry personally, out of his own pocket, personally asks and employs and instructs a solicitor to draw up an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, a type of confidentiality agreement, for all members of the committee to sign. So basically, I'd have to sign it, Barry's going to sign it, Brian's going to sign it, Cynthia Sampson's going to sign it. Jean had to sign it because technically she was a member of the employment committee, but because all the fraud was going on about her, we thought better off keep it out. Okay? It was fully noted by Barry and all of us the actions of Councillor Smith and Moore in voting themselves onto the employment committee. And again, I'd actually gone and got advice from another solicitor who specialised in public law and confirmed my suspicions that this was highly unlawful, their actions were illegal, and that they are not members of the committee, and that he advised that our solicitor was to write letters to them advising them vis-a-vis misconduct in public office. So 3 letters went to Smith, Moore and Sampson, respectively, noting, watch it, this is misconduct in public office. You're going to be in big trouble if you don't back down and buck your ideas up. You would have thought a major letter like that would have done the trick. But the thing is, you're dealing with babies. And all they're interested in is their own pathetic coup d'etat and their own visions of grandeur and power. Wake up. You're a parish council, you ain't got no power. All your eyes on an advising board. An advising board to Cheshire East, that's it. You're nothing else, nothing more, nothing more, nothing more. Yeah? Wake up, there you are, there's the truth. It's going to hurt, but that's all you are. Cheshire East will probably look at it just like a knocking shop or an advisory board, because that's what you are. Nothing more, nothing less. Yeah? So, Barry gets the NDA drawn up and he emails it round to us. Brian signs it as the chair of the council. I sign it as vice chair of the council and vice chair of the employment committee, and Barry signs it. Jean, as agreed, does not sign it due to conflict of interest. We get somebody who refuses to sign it. I wonder who that could be. Yep, you've got it. It's Cynthia. Councillor Sanson refuses to sign it. Yep, and she refused to attend the meeting. And Barry minutes that. We hold the meeting in the early afternoon of Wednesday the 4th of December. And prior to that, we had taken considerable advice from our employment solicitor and ACAS. And we were cleared to suspend the clerk. And we could do that. Bearing in mind, the final resolution has now been removed from those minutes of the 27th of August 2020, saying at the end of it, the employment committee, if the clerk didn't moderate his conduct, could act as it saw appropriate. And that had been voted on by full council, so that committee had that power and authority to do it. So that meant the decision that Brian, myself and Barry were going to take as the employment committee, and that Cynthia had refused to attend because she wouldn't sign the NDA, and we all know why, because she would have got that information and she would want to share it with everyone. We know that's what happens. That's why she didn't sign it, so she didn't get it. So our decision to suspend the clerk was totally and utterly lawful. Once that's done, Councillor Birkle writes to the clerk and advises him in writing of the decision and requests that all property, and that's all HBC property, is returned to the chair so that the council can be run and can function whilst he is suspended. The clerk's also told that an investigation is now going to be institutionalised and initiated against him. He's offered the chance to respond to that, don't take it. What happens? 20 minutes to half an hour after he's told he's suspended, he goes and calls meetings. He's suspended! He can't send an email round like that with agenda packs in it. He's suspended. But he does it. He's no power authority to call meetings or act in this manner. Oh, but he's the clerk, he's Ashley. He's gone and done it. I couldn't believe it. Week passes. We get to the chair officially cancels the meetings of Tuesday the 10th of November 2020. However, in the lunchtime, Councillor Moore, that's Susan Moore, sends out an email stating that the meeting is on and provides a Zoom meeting code that's not been publicly published. And she provides this on the day. And what is more, I investigated this with Zoom professionally, not as a councillor, professionally, so I could get the answers I wanted. I could get the information I wanted. I found out that the Zoom account that meeting was held upon belongs to her husband, Peter Moore. Thank you, Zoom. I appreciate that. That is totally and utterly illegal, unlawful, anything you want to say, any way you want to put it. You can't hold a council meeting on a personal Zoom or Microsoft Teams account. Can't do it. Obviously, we refuse to attend. We're not going. That's an unlawful meeting, number 3. So we're 3 for 3 at the minute. Yeah. We are 3 for 3. To make matters worse, in the days preceding this, we get, and this is how I'm going to finish it off, we get another email from the ALCC, playing L that we've suspended the clerk, and that the clerk has acted lawfully, and that it has been evidenced. Well, this time I said to Barry, you give me that, and I'm going to tear him apart. And that's exactly what I did. I did what I do best. I wrote a very firm, very fierce, very forceful letter, not aggressive, but very to the point, and I destroyed exactly what he said. Significantly, and I'm going to leave you with this, that bloke from the ALCC, he believed that we'd acted illegally to suspend the clerk, and said there was no such resolution. We said, yes, there is. Gave him the minutes of the meeting the 27th of August. So he said, came back, and he actually confirmed this. He said, that's not in the minutes that I've been given. Pardon? See what I mean? Now, I'm going to stop there, because if I go any further, you've had way so much, and there's a lot, as you can see. It's getting worse and worse and worse, and it's getting full on. So sit tight. Episode 8 ain't just going to take you through the remainder of November. It's going to take you through December, and it's going to take you to January. And I shall stop at the end of January there, because then we've got to get to that fateful day in February. But again, there was a lot that went on. Sit tight, take care. Hope you enjoy this.